and welcome to today's edition of Career Conversations with Dupe. I'm so excited to welcome you. I guess for each week we just keep getting better, don't you think so? All right. So thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. And of course, thank you for sending your questions. John Maxwell, who is a mentor of mine, said something. He says, great leaders ask great questions. So for you to have sent in your questions, it really means you're a great leader. Don't you think? I think you're a great leader. So thank you so much. Your questions are so, instrumental, to the content that I share because it helps me to see what you need and how I'm able, to serve you better in your journey. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about something, that I get asked a lot of times, when people meet with me. So the question is around how do you build a global career? All right, how do you build a global career? When we got started, we talked about how to choose a career for yourself. And know now a lot of people now know kind of what they want, or maybe you're already playing in the field you want to play, but you want to change your game a little bit, you want to step it up a little bit, and that is very important. It's all what you want at the end of the day, what makes you happy. Do you? Awesome. So today we're going to be talking about how to build a global career. How to build a global career. If you haven't watched my intro video about how I started, I will advise you watch because it kind of gives context to where I was and where I am right now. So I have built, a global career for myself. By the grace of God, I have journeyed over time, from that young girl who finished with a second class lower, precisely a CGPA of about 2.7 ish, who got rejected, by very well meaning multinational companies, but weren't looking for her kind of, qualification or class of degree, but I've gone on to work with several global brands, in the course of my career. I've worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers, I've worked with AstraZeneca, I've worked with Coca-Cola Hellenic Bottling, and currently I serve as the Global Diversity Talent Manager of a multinational chemical company, in the world. So it's actually been a journey. So I want to share with you how I did it and how you too can do it. Success can be demystified, really. Success leave clues. I can't remember who said that, but really there is a way, to get into this thing. So I would say that, for you to build a global career, the first thing you need to do is to decide on the career you want. I know we already spoke about, how to choose a career. And the reason why that is important is you don't want to get to the top of your career and discover that your ladder was leaning on the wrong wall all the while. You don't want to build a career in something that doesn't give you fulfillment at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So it's very good that you have clarity around what it is that you want. So determine the career you want, the field you want to play in, and be very sure about that. All right. Now, the second thing you need to do once you have decided the career you want to pursue or the industry you want to play in is to sit down and do a research, all right, on the global body of knowledge required to thrive in that industry. Now, what do I mean? Right, for every profession, there is a body of knowledge. There is something you need to know about that field, all right? And there are global standards, all right? There are global standards that you need to be aware of. Now, sometimes some of the standards are contained in, they form the basis of the certifications that we hear about. So if, for instance, you want to become a project manager, all right, whether you're going through the PMP route or the Prince 2 route, you will realize that, there is a project management body of knowledge. It gives the structure to the learning that takes place within project management. It sets the tone or the minimum requirements of what a project manager should know and be able to do. So that's what a body of knowledge is about. So what that does for you is it helps you to see what you need to learn in order to be able to position, because positioning for global career is not just about show off. It's not just about, networking. And we'll get into how to network, but you don't want to network and not have content and not be able to deliver, okay? So you need to pay attention to study and discover, through research, the body of knowledge that guides the industry you want to play. Now, let me quickly clarify. When we talk about global, I'm not just talking about Western ways of doing things, all right? Now, where you are is part of a global knowledge, because one thing I need you to remember is that, when we talk about global knowledge, it's a combination of practices, across the world. So it's having that, big picture thinking where your career is concerned. So once you have done that, right, what you need to do, in addition to discovering the body of knowledge, is identifying the sort of certifications, that are within that space. All right. So in some fields you have, one global certification. In some other fields you may have regional, certifications, but are considered global. So let me give you an example. I just cited, Prince 2 and PMP. Now, one is more popular in North America. Now, I think that is the Prince 2. Now, I think Prince 2 is more popular in North America, while the PMP is more UK, Europe centric, right? So each region, however, if you go through either, you will realize that you're still exposed to the body of knowledge. The question then you need to ask yourself is, in the long run, 5 years, 10 years from now, where am I likely to be? Am I positioning for the European markets? Am I preparing myself for the North American markets? And that can influence, how you want to position yourself. And definitely nothing stops you from deciding or choosing to do both if you want, okay? So that should be very clear. Now, the third thing you need to do is, after you must have identified the career you want to play in or you want to pursue, and you have identified, the global body of knowledge that supports that field, you want to find local opportunities to start with, right? You want to start local and then go global. Question somebody might want to ask is, why can't I just start global? It's good to start global, but I will tell you that a lot of times being able to master and dominate your local market gives you the confidence, to advance. So you want to start building gradually, okay? You need to ask yourself, what are the local realities of where I am right now? What are the practices? Learn about those practices, add value to that local context, and then begin to then do research into, how other practices or how other regions, are practicing the same thing. And that way you are enriching yourself, because you cannot ignore where you are because of where you are going. Where you are is a reference point to where you are going, you see. So you need to first start local and then grow global, go global. So I would say that get opportunities where you are, because what that does for you is it helps you to start honing your skills within your safe space, right? If you export yourself quite prematurely, of course, when you get there, you will start building, and growing. If you decide to go, to any location other than where you're familiar with, you will still have to learn, how things are done. So it's better for you to build, from where you are, start local, then go global. The next thing you need to do is, once you've, those certifications I mentioned earlier, begin to pursue them, begin to acquire them. Now, I did not put certifications before experience, because it is not so much about the certifications, it's about what you can do. Now, if you can get the experience as you are getting the certifications, then it makes it better for you, because it gives you the opportunity to begin to implement strategies, implement insights, implement systems, processes that you're learning, from those bodies of knowledge you're exposing yourself to on your job. It solidifies your experience pretty much. So once you have identified your career, you have identified the body of knowledge, including, the certifications that provide or support that, right? You're getting local experience, then you're pursuing the certification. All right, so pursue the certifications. Once you've done that, or once you're already on your path to doing that, then begin to expand your network. It's interesting that, I see a lot of people wanting to go global, but they get limited to local interactions. No, put yourself out there, get to know what your peers, people above you, people at your level, people even coming right after you, what are they doing, what outside inside perspectives can you get. Expose yourself to conferences, expose yourself to events. If you have to invest in taking a trip to wherever, different parts of the world, to meet people from different backgrounds, please do that for you. It gives you that exposure that you want. You can be in North America and decide to go for a conference in Asia. It's part of learning. I remember the first time I traveled, and I traveled to the US, and I met, if some individuals, and they were wondering if Africa was a country, and I was quite embarrassed, on their behalf. Like, how can you be in a place where a lot of people consider so advanced, and you're so, uninformed. It was quite interesting to see. So that people live in certain areas of the world, or certain parts of the world that you consider advanced, does not necessarily mean people are global. All right, so being in the abroad, or you know being in the West, does not mean people are more educated. Just expose yourself to different cultures, expose yourself to different practices, different people, from time to time. And of course, begin to exchange value. So it's not enough for you to be a content consumer. Become a creator. Find opportunities to add value, from your experience, hands-on experience locally. Begin to expand. What opportunities, what needs do people have? So in your interactions with people, you begin to hear some of the challenges they are having, and then you're able to add value to them. And if you maintain those relationships, you're able to also get feedback on how your impact is influencing what they are doing. But you also need to get their perspective. If you have projects you're working on, get their perspective. How would this be done, if I was in Thailand? Or how would it be done if I was in China? How would you look at this? And then you take what you can and adapt it to your reality. Expose your mind and learn from people in your network. Okay. And then, of course, begin to look for those opportunities. So for me, for instance, yes, I started my journey. I remember I started my career as an HR analyst in an indigenous company. Even though I put it on my 5-year plan that I wanted to work with a multinational, I started locally. I started with an indigenous company, but I didn't stay there for long, right? In 1.5 years, I had made myself relevant. I had learned a lot from the consultants. Over time, I had learned so much. That's the best way I can put it. And so I started from there. I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers, and that helped me to work with different people from different backgrounds. I networked with colleagues from different parts of the world within the PwC network, and then I moved on from there. I moved into the industry. I stopped being a consultant. I moved into the industry. I wanted hands-on industry experience. So from being a consultant, I exposed myself to a generalist experience. That way, I began to see the reality, the practicalities of some of my recommendations, some of the theories I knew. And from being a generalist, with an indigenous company again, I moved on to work with a multinational. I became an HR business partner, this time for West Africa. Now, what that did for me was I moved beyond the country I had been familiar with. I exposed myself to another region. So when you have conquered your location, when I say conquer, it doesn't mean you'll be an expert in everything. It just means that you have some good grasp of your country, of your locality, right, of your industry in that locality. Then begin to aspire for the next level. The next level for me then was regional. So becoming an HR business partner for a regional organization, even though it was still a generalist experience, but I was gaining new knowledge about a new market, about new places. And then I stayed on that role. The markets or the countries I became responsible for expanded again. So from 2 countries, I expanded into 10 countries. And that's where you're showing mastery. You're demonstrating value, as you go. And so your profile is rising. You're not just talking from one point of view, you're able to talk from 7D, 8D, and as many Ds as possible. And the more real, the more richer your conversations become. All right. So expose yourself. Of course, all the while I was taking global certifications that supported my ambition to be global. Okay, so once you start seeing opportunities that showed the next level for you, go for them. Okay, go for them. So number 1, decide the career you want. All right. Number 2, determine the body of knowledge that empowers or that supports the career you want. The third thing you want to do is to begin to gain local experience. All right. The fourth thing you will do is to then begin to get certifications to show your credibility globally, that you have demonstrated some grasp or some understanding of the body of knowledge surrounding your industry. Then network with people, connect with people, go for conferences, show yourself to the world as a global citizen that you are. And then when those opportunities show up, don't sleep on them. Go for it. All right. So I believe that you have learned something, or you have found one thing that you can apply this week to make your career go global. Right. Okay. So if this has been very useful to you, remember to share, to like, to comment, to engage with this video. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work, right? So please help me support this, and subscribe to this channel. I'll be looking out for you again next week. Don't forget to send your questions to the email address you can see on this screen right now, and I'll be more than honored, to respond to your question. Till I come next week, have a great week. Bye.